everyone, and welcome to Filters of MENA Edition. I am Debsena and I'm going to be your host for this episode. This show is where dashboards get dissected and only true ROI survives. Today's guest is the Regional Data and Tech Chief of Initiative MENA. With a career leading paid media, analytics and search excellence across UK and Middle East, he is one to look out for. Please welcome the dashboard surgeon and the data whisperer, Ryan Fletcher. Hey Ryan, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Lovely. So let's get into segment one. In this segment, we are going to talk about data to dollars, the real ROI debate. Yeah. So you have built multiple dashboards across different clients, across different countries. What's one data point that every CMO should be very mindful of? And the other one, which is the biggest distraction?
So I think the most important thing when you're building dashboards is understanding a couple of things. Okay, first off, all metrics are valuable within context. So every business is different, every objective is different, and making sure that you've got the right measurement framework behind what you're actually reporting on is super important. My favorite metric is p-value.
Okay.
So p-value is essentially a measurement on how statistically significant a result is.
Yeah.
Because whether we're driving awareness, whether we're driving engagement, or even sales and leads, we need to be continually learning, right? And my biggest fear is that the teams kind of do tests without necessarily really understanding who's won and who's lost in an A/B variant test. So p-value is super important for that, right? So for anyone who's not familiar, the lower the value, the more statistically significant that test is, right? And I also like confidence value. I also like sample size, these sorts of things to help me determine that the results we're giving back are actually meaningful to a business. So yeah, that's my favorite part.
How about the biggest distraction? Something that you don't want anybody to track any longer?
I think it's kind of contextual, right?
Yeah.
I see a lot of brands who are driving business leads, for example, sales, who obsess over metrics that aren't necessarily that important. If you've got a campaign, for example, and you're looking at in-app install events, or you're looking at app installs as your main KPI, don't fret over the number of impressions or clicks that you're generating, or what the click-through rate is going to be, because those aren't fundamentally important to what your business outcome needs to be, and vice versa. Of course, a lot of our clients want to try and make holistically their numbers make sense. But in reality, a lot of these metrics, they don't move in tandem with one another. To really optimize the one that's important, you may need to sacrifice other metrics at the same time.
So basically letting go of vanity metrics and looking at actual business outcomes, and then understanding which matrix is important.
Yeah, but also having the frame of mind, right? So if you're an FMCG client and you're trying to drive top of mind awareness, then reach and frequency are going to be your key KPIs in that regard.
Yes.
So continuing a conversation or obsessing over metrics that aren't leading towards that are ultimately red herrings that we need to kind of, as agencies, we need to be the ones who to kind of give custodian kind of roadmaps to our clients to understand which metrics are important.
Absolutely. Another buzzword when it comes to dashboard is to measure incrementality. Every client is looking at that buzzword for every single campaign. How do you deal with it? How do you convey incrementality using those dashboards?
Yeah, I mean, back to our kind of test and learn methodologies, right? Like, I think linear reporting isn't enough anymore. You have to, especially the way that the ecosystem has kind of exploded. Naturally, there's going to be a lot of demand or business outcomes that media will associate itself with cookies or whatever it may be. And you actually have to have a good measurement framework in there with controlled and exposed groups to really understand what the incrementality of your outcome would be.
Yeah.
Another kind of thing that I constantly worry about is like not contextualizing performance. So, you know, we sometimes will have really bad weeks for a client, but in reality, it's kind of the mid-month lull in demand. And I always lean on AI now to help us contextualize these results as much as possible.
You're very right, because context is important, because sometimes what you realize is you're looking at a problem where the problem isn't. And you're so right in saying that contextuality is important even for dashboard. So let's get into segment 2. Here we are going to talk about the automation mirage, where tech delivers and where tech fails. Automation is everywhere. Anything that we do today is automated, whether it's bid strategies, whether it's creative or reporting. What's truly plug and play for you, and where do agencies need hands-on expertise, in your opinion? A very passionate subject for me, this, because as somebody who's spent probably the last 6 or 7 years trying to understand machine learning, I wouldn't be confident enough to say I truly understand machine learning. I think it's something that's continually developing, right? One thing that I think we all need to be careful of is this automation can be built with bias. And it's super important for us to understand that. So when advertisers today are heavily reliant on platforms to automate the delivery and the optimization of their business, they need to be wary that that business also has external goals, particularly around yielding and making money for them as a business, right? One of the areas that I think automation is really coming on leaps and bounds is reporting. I think our industry is broken down into 2 areas, right? It really is a scientific art form. You know, the idea that there's a lot of logic in what we do every day, and there's a lot of creativity. And a perfect marketeer can operate in both of those realms kind of seamlessly. What we have seen is that the logic side of our business has kind of continually be dominated by automation and AI, and we should embrace that, right? They can analyze data and produce statistical outcomes much quicker than we can. Absolutely.
And what that should do is then lead us to focus on the areas where automation is still got ways to go, which is the emotional connection, the connection platform between business and consumer. And those are the areas that humans still are the dominant force in. So when it comes to automation, I would beware, just a word of warning to everyone is beware of the algorithm. The algorithm might not necessarily always have your best interests at heart. And be brave, you know, test, learn, be ready to fail, and continually iterate.
No, absolutely, totally agree with you. We use a lot of AI in our products, and what we have seen is AI is very good at maths. It can do math better than any human being.
For sure.
But even now, AI can't think. And whenever it is thinking, there's a huge bias. That's the reason we see so many results that are so very skewed to a set of population. And we are seeing that anytime we have tried to use AI for something new, it hasn't produced better results. But if we have tried to analyze something with AI, it has given us awesome results, saved us a lot of time. In that context, like you said about the limits of those algorithms, can you specifically say something that you are seeing that you think needs to be addressed when it comes to algorithmic buying?
Overfitting right? So I teach, or I tell the guys in the office all the time, a very simple analogy. If I come to you and tell you a statement and tell you, I know, for example, every Tuesday everyone drinks coffee, and I tell you, you have to prove that for me, and I continually pressure you to kind of prove that, the stress that I will create for you as a person will eventually make a scenario where you will force my statement to be true.
Yeah.
That is a great example of machine learning and overfitting.
Yeah.
Where we see it a lot with clients. They turn on a campaign, they're trying to optimize to conversions, and the platform will spend and spend and spend.
Yeah.
Because it has this overfitting rule that spend leads to conversions.
Yes.
And that is an area that we need to wrestle back from platforms and make sure that we do that thinking and let the platforms deliver on what they're good at.
Continuing on the same line, there is a risk of over-relying on the tech stacks that you have built. And today, tech is a considerably significant portion of media buy. What are your thoughts on having that heavy tech stacks?
One of the greatest innovations at the moment is the fact that I think as businesses, we're building our own solutions quicker and faster than ever.
Yes.
And buying off the shelf from heavy enterprise level solutions isn't the only solution to something in town.
Yeah.
So I'm much more for people, internal teams or clients, to really be very specific about the jobs that they're trying to solve and try and solve them through automation yourself.
Be specific with your requirements so that I can get you the right toy.
Yeah, exactly. Or build you the right toy.
Build you the right toy, So let's go to segment 3. This is all about the truth about attribution.
Yeah.
From Google Analytics to custom data stacks, you have seen attribution models across different industries. What is the biggest myth of attribution today?
I think the biggest myth is that there's one correct answer to attribution. I think that's the biggest myth, right? I think that attribution is one of those things that actually is not only just industry specific, but client by client specific. It will depend on your position within a market, how well known you are, what additional services and added values you have. All of those kind of external influences will have a direct impact on what attribution model is best for you. I feel like as we move towards kind of the ML deep learning environment, I think a lot of clients have realized that traditional regression, traditional media mix modeling has always been and will continue to be the best place for direction. And when it comes to attribution, the most advanced clients I've ever seen have more than one. And they kind of use those models concurrently against each other to understand when a channel is a contributor or a collector of events.
Absolutely.
And that's the best thing I could tell a brand.
So what we have seen is a user journey is no longer linear. It is an infinite loop, and you do not know which point in that loop actually converted your customer for you. So and we are omni-channel always now. So understanding where the customer came from and what actually contributed to a particular sale or conversion, whatever you want to call it, is going to be very difficult. But there are multiple people trying, using as many tech stacks to try and pin those things together, with Google coming up with new things every day to say that their analytics is best. But in real world, attribution actually fails. So can you give us one example from your campaigns where you failed to show where the user came from?
Where the biggest struggles we have is, like you said, the disconnected consumer journeys today,
Yes.
right? So I wouldn't say that it's necessarily a failure. I would say it's just a blind spot inside measurement frameworks today.
Yeah.
Without having kind of single sign-on platforms, without having CDPs and everything else, it can be very difficult to really stitch together a journey, right? Even the best kind of analytics platforms today aren't going to understand if I start my journey on my mobile and then go home and pick up my tablet. They're not going to be able to kind of stitch that together with me in real time,
Yes.
unless there is additional technology at the back end, which is why I'm a big fan of just looking at coefficients and correlations at a primitive level to understand where things are directionally going, and let that naturally lead into things like media mix modeling to find a relationship between that and brand health and business outcomes.
So you're basically looking at a lot of statistical analysis to come to that conclusion rather than just looking at the data.
For sure.
So absolutely right. Data doesn't always tell you the real story. Last click attribution has been well established to be complete BS, because it doesn't work, and it's very easy to steal attribution, hijack attribution, etc. But what happens as a brand is I do not know which path my client came in, and therefore for me to optimize that path becomes very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was Henry Ford that very famously said, I know 50% of my advertising is a waste of money.
Yeah.
I just don't know which 50% it is, right? And I still feel like those problems and challenges will always be around us.
Yeah.
But as long as advertisers, agency teams are brave and aren't afraid to test and learn, you can find real pockets of inefficiency and ultimately clean pockets of wastage as well.
Here's an opinion that is not very popular, that agencies have actually done a lot when it comes to saying that I can attribute and make the brand believe that it is possible to attribute a sale, which led to this point where now it is becoming very difficult to actually attribute. Because when digital channels were up and coming, the biggest differentiator between offline and online was you can measure everything. And now we are at a point that you cannot measure everything, and you're going back to offline days where you say there's a propensity that this particular client came from X place or Y place. And I think we are going back in that same route that we came from, and we questioned everything offline had to say. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's continually this kind of challenge between both advertisers and consumers, right?
Yeah.
So advertisers will try and find the newest way to track a consumer.
Yes.
Consumers will become privy to that, fight for their right for privacy, and we will have to continually find new ways.
Yeah.
It's interesting, as you mentioned, that the likes of Google, the likes of Meta, they've now gone back to this cohorted style of measurement, which is actually very similar to the way that we used to do research and these things kind of 20 years ago.
Yes.
And I think there's a happy blend there, right? What I am excited about is these new cookieless kind of ecosystems that are coming out across the region. I think that those are going to give us at least a framework for how to measure things effectively without iOS stepping in and removing ATT or whatever it may be. So I'm super excited about those.
Yeah, same here. We would love to see where we go from here.
Yeah.
So transparency, brand safety, and supply path optimization has been in discussion for the last 3 years for sure.
Yeah.
Initiative works across major DSPs, SSPs, etc.
Yeah.
What are the hard truths that brands need to know about supply path optimization, brand safety, and programmatic, in your opinion?
Some hard truths. I mean, we'll start off by saying I think programmatic has always had a bit of an identity crisis, right? Because if you fully believe what programmatic should be, it's the identification of particular audiences, right? But then you tend to get into conversations with advertisers about where your ads are showing, and it's like, well, actually, aren't you more interested about who I'm showing to rather than where they are? And then you end up with this kind of, you end between a rock and a hard place about how programmatic should operate, right? Some hard truths is that obviously, I don't know the stat to my head, but I know that the data is exponentially increasing every day. New websites come live every day.
Yes.
So you could imagine how hard it is for a DSP to try and create these categorized brand safe environments with the amount of volume that is happening every day, particularly with AI now kind of generating web pages within 30 seconds.
Yes.
So some hard truths is that there, even though an agency team or a programmatic buyer could do absolutely everything in their power to create the whitest of white space available for your client, there are going to be leaks in that bucket, and it's hard to avoid that. Even when, I don't want to pick on Google DV360, but you know, they have these categorized buckets of what's safe and what's not safe. But it can take up to 48 hours for a new URL to actually end up in one of those buckets. So there is small opportunities for things to fall through those filters. And I think agencies have always made things more complicated than they need to be. So things like viewability, things like attention, we have seemed to have made these hard KPIs, when for me they're more hygiene metrics than they are anything else. I wouldn't be proud telling a client that you've got a viewability of 70% because I would be worried about where that 30% of my impressions were. So programmatic can be used in two forms, right? You can either create senses of ubiquity amongst particular content types and environments which create mental availability, or you can go hard and fast down the audience route and say, we know who this person is, we have high propensity understanding that they're about to make a major decision, and it doesn't matter where they are. You know, I just want to make sure that I'm there when they need me. And we need to do a better job as an industry explaining programmatic, otherwise it's going to continually be, you know, this half guard between these two areas.
See, last 2 years actually programmatic faced a lot more challenges than before, especially with the war breaking out here. Very safe publisher spaces like BBC, Yahoo News, or any of the news sites suddenly became problematic. Because there were dynamic pages changing every 2-3 minutes with new reports coming in, and there's nothing you can do to control. And those are hard facts. And explaining this to clients become difficult because everybody's emotions are running high. But again, as agencies, we have to try.
I mean, we live here in the UAE in the melting pot of cultures, beliefs, and understandings, right? So, unfortunately, when we're trying to appease everyone, you sometimes you end up appeasing no one. And I value the advertisers who kind of during these kind of difficult periods have taken a decision to kind of remove themselves from those environments in order to avoid any embarrassing moments. And we need to work harder as an industry to create real safe spaces for brands. And that's got to come with regulation and everything else inside these industries as well. Like, it's not just agencies, everyone's got to come together.
See, the only hope is when you're talking to big publishers, they have the capability of implementing certain guardrails. That's not true for the overall programmatic scene, because the smaller ones
and the largest part of the market isn't with these massive publishers, right? It's the man on the street who has a blog that doesn't have the brand safety filters. So programmatic and these exchanges, the agencies, the governments, they all need to come together and create new frameworks for us to kind of adhere to.
Absolutely agreed. Segment 5 is about leading teams. You have led large teams across agencies as well as the client ecosystem. What separates a good data team versus a great one? What's that one must-have skill that you are always on the lookout for?
Bravery, curiosity, fear. I think good teams deliver on their deliverables. Great teams continually question what is being shown, right? I think the best teams are integrated teams amongst, whether it be with inside an agency, a data team working with the planning and the comms design teams, or the performance teams, to really, it's a story that you're trying to get to the bottom of. Some of the best projects I've ever seen here at Initiative have started with one question, and within a month we've answered something completely different, because every request and subsequent action has come back with more questions. What happens next? What happens next? And those are really the environment we try to create as leaders, right? Is that people have freedom to explore, support when they require, but be brave in trying to answer a question. Our clients are in very unique period, right? Everyone has AI at their fingertips. So and we've all got answers at our fingertips, right? So you need somebody who's got the expertise, the know-how to really come and show you how to navigate some of the problems we had today. We see a lot of synthetic data, for example, in AI being produced. And synthetic data can lead businesses to make bad decisions.
Very bad decisions,
right? Hallucination is something we don't talk enough about in data today. And when we actually produce studies, I don't want to say the old school way, but the traditional data science route, we end up typically challenging clients who are producing these models using AI, because there is a lot of hallucination, there is a lot of bias in those, and as a result, we give our team members the confidence to challenge it, right, and go back and say, no, we're confident in this result.
So data has always been garbage in, garbage out.
Sure.
That is a fact of data that stays. But at the same time, are you not seeing that with AI coming in, there's a lot of data analysis that can be done without actually maintaining a larger team? So as a leader, how are you dealing with that? Will AI be replacing a lot of your a lot of dependency from personnel, or do you think no, the human intelligence is as important and it has to stay on at least for foreseeable future?
I mean, honestly, I embrace the technology. I wouldn't be much of a head of technology if I didn't embrace it, right? But I think what we're going to see is the skills and ultimately the deliverables change over time within teams. You're right in saying that maybe 3-4 years ago, my team would have been responsible for producing an A/B test result and making sure that we used goodness of fit models or whatever it was to produce that. ChatGPT is pretty good at doing that now. When it comes to those deeper strategical questions, there's a lot of why. There's a lot of why that needs to happen. And unfortunately, data to produce that answer as to why isn't homogeneous enough for an AI to really understand. So there are individual pieces of analysis that happen, and you still need a data science or an analytical background to stitch those stories together in a meaningful way. I love how the strategy teams at Initiative start their growth diagnostic and their brand diagnostic with data-driven audits today. You know, that really leads me to believe that the next phase of our industry is going to be a completely different composition of skills, and it's very, very exciting that.
Lovely. We look forward to seeing it, and we are uncovering it every day, to be honest. These are the discussions because we work with a lot of data scientists ourselves. This is a discussion we have internally too, whether we will need more or whether we are okay and we'll let tech do the heavy lifting. So it's a constant discussion and we don't know. That's the right answer.
I think, I mean, when we look at major revolutions in society, right, there's always been this moment where we're like, do we need this person anymore? And what typically happens is that person's job and responsibility changes with the demands. my team are building solutions today.
Yeah.
And those solutions need maintenance, they need understanding. And as technology grows, I mean, Gemini is bringing out a new model every week. So is ChatGPT.
Yes.
We need somebody to maintain those APIs, right? Even if you have an MCP server, who's going to maintain that? So the jobs and responsibilities will always be there, but the skills required, and it's our job as leaders to kind of see ahead and say, okay, you've got a data science degree today, but within 3 years, I'm going to need you to be an engineer, right? And let's put you on a path to make sure that you've got the skills to come with us.
Absolutely, totally agree there. So segment 6 is kind of a fun segment for us.
Okay.
I would like you to explain to me, as if I was a 5-year-old, what is a dashboard and what matters to a brand on a dashboard?
A dashboard should be the truth teller in the room, okay? There should be a good dashboard, should be a place where you understand objectively where you are. A good dashboard shouldn't make any assumptions about where it should just tell you objectively where you sit today. Explaining that to a 5-year-old, it would be the map that never lies.
Okay. Well, like a scoreboard on a game.
Like a scoreboard on a game, or kind of, it should be a way for you to, it should be the question, when I talk to the guys, it should be where your questions originate from, right? Dashboards aren't there to give you the answer. They're there to kind of help you devise the question and then start the conversation.
That's a lovely take on dashboard, to be honest. That's so true.
Thank you.
What's one dashboard metric or a tech trend that you absolutely loved once and now you think is overhyped, risky, or dead?
I'd probably go back to viewability and attention, to be honest with you. Originally, I thought, wow, these are amazing metrics for us to optimize against. And then the more you kind of delve into them, they're more hygiene factors than they are anything else. And there always seem to be a middle metric in between something else, like what leads to clicks or what leads to sales, and it's never what leads to attention. At Initiative, for example, we believe that attention is earned. Okay, so through comms design, through great placement, through good missions, you will earn attention. It shouldn't be something you optimize to. It should be something you earn through media and earn through your brand's platform. What
initially happened with an attention metric or viewability is that they took branding and put on a bunch of KPIs on it to make it look like performance.
And I won't name names, obviously, because we're all friends here, but like, it's very expensive to measure viewability and attention. And the marginal benefit that a business would get, I'm not saying that there aren't benefits, but it's marginal at best. Half the time, the cost-benefit analysis of that piece of technology in the ecosystem doesn't necessarily always make sense.
Thank you for saying that aloud. We have been telling this across the board to every client we can, saying that, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of things that happens after that matters much more, or before.
Exactly. There's a lot. Typically, when someone's talking to me about bringing in those kind of solutions, I ask them, what are you optimizing to? And it's like, well, we could just measure and optimize to that if you wanted instead. And they say, oh okay, let's try. And I can save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in the process. So
Great. Segment 8 is a challenge. You have $1 million. And you cannot invest this on any walled gardens, no Google, no Metas, no TikTok, Snaps, etc. What would you invest this on and why?
I'd probably do influencer marketing, to be honest with you. I think that we've seen not only the ecosystem as a whole of content creators really go from strength to strength over the last 3 or 5 years, but the influence that these content creators now have at a micro, macro, and kind of celebrity status, I would say, is huge, right? I always liken it back to the days of SEO, when we used to talk about our link profile strategy and how we would use outreach. Micro influencers today, I've seen how potent they can be, right? When you get the right research in place and you really find those pockets of communities around the world, and you not only just do singular activations, because that doesn't work, but when you actually partner up with these guys and you do content pieces together and you do collaborations, and big brands come in and kind of bring different influencers together, we've seen it have amazing results. So if I couldn't put any money in the walled gardens, I would probably go down that road.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Like, taking it back to the point that you made, this micro influencers is where you're going to earn your attention.
Yes, absolutely.
Like you said, you need to earn that. That's where you do it. And if you do a good strategy on micro influencers, your reach is way better than going after the big time influencers.
It requires a little bit of faith. Like when you there's always this dichotomy of kind of understanding. You sit with an enterprise level client and you say, well, here's this influencer, he's got 30,000 followers, and they go, really? And I go, but those 30,000 people, they absolutely love him, right, or her. And what we're going to do is we're going to partner up with this guy. And he goes, but we're this big, and this guy. And I said, but you don't have the level of kind of influence that this man does or this woman does. And when you pick 50 of them together and you do it harmoniously across a business, across a region, the results are incredible. So influencers will continue to be a growing part of our media strategies, for sure.
And it's evolving every day.
And what I love about them is that influencers, content creators, because it's their business, right? And because it's literally their lifeblood, they're so entrepreneurial in the way that they come up with content ideas. Some of the best media platforms that we've ever put together have been in collaboration with influencers, right? They've come together and gone, I read your brief and this is what I want to do. I want to cut a piece, I want to do something crazy, and please go ahead and do it. And that ingenuity that comes with their brand and their drive, it brings brands to life today, and it's a massive part of what we do. Influencer
marketing has been the most talked about topic in this season of Filters Off, and everybody's betting big on it. So we are all hoping that this actually goes all the way.
For sure.
And let's see how it evolves.
Web3 is, they're the pinnacle of Web3, right? They're going to be the custodians of Web3. And I'm excited to watch it grow.
Lovely. Segment 8 is a challenge question. If you have $1 million today, what data platform or tech platform would you like to build and why?
What would I build? I would build a integrated operating system for advertisers, right? I think that I need to be very careful how I position this, but there's a fragmentation in our industry, which I think makes the barrier to entry to kind of best-in-class solutions very steep for medium to small businesses today. If you want to compete with the likes of McDonald's or or some of the massive brands that are at Initiative, you need a standalone media agency, you're going to need an e-commerce business, you're going to need a marketing business, a social media company, someone managing your SEO. And I don't think that's necessarily fair. So if I had $1 million and all the time in the world, I would like to try and get to a point where a small to medium business could log into my platform and get, I wouldn't say all the way to the level that Initiative could, because it's full of talented people, but 80% of the way there in a very succinct, integrated way, right? Clients today always come to us. They're no longer just talking to us about media, right? They need data solutions. They need e-commerce solutions. They need retail media solutions, They expect us as an agency to respond back in a consistent, connected way. So, and I think there's a big gap in the industry today for a platform like that, right? Where it just doesn't exist as a SaaS solution. You see the likes of Smartly, you see the likes of others who are doing individual bits.
Yeah.
But across the board, nothing. So that's what I would build. If there are any investors out there you go, let me know.
So an integrated solution for smaller agencies.
Like an agency SaaS platform is how I would position it. I've not put any thought into this at all, but like a one-stop shop for what agencies could deliver for a small business.
Lovely. Okay. All the best.
Thank you.
If any investors are listening, please talk to Ryan.
Thank you so much.
Segment 9 is a fun round of rapid fire.
Sure.
You'll have 1 second to respond. I'll give you a word, whatever comes first.
Okay, dangerous.
Yeah. Dashboard.
Boring.
Supply path optimization.
More boring.
Data clean room.
Integral.
Brand safety.
Not as important as you think it is.
Algorithm.
Bias.
AI.
Overplayed.
Attribution.
Not required.
Transparency.
A must.
CPM.
Depends on what you're buying.
ROI.
A business must have.
Tech stack.
Modular.
People.
Everything.
Lovely. That is the end of rapid fire. That was some very nice answers.
Thanks.
But
yeah. Hopefully, I don't want to get. I'm thinking about it now. Dashboards being boring. They're not boring. I just think there's a lot of other ways today to display data. Data storytelling is the critical skill in our industry moving forward. And dashboards alone, they only come to life with the right person.
Yeah.
Right? So when it's just graphs and everything else, I feel like I want to send my data science team to go and explain it to them, because that's where they really get the insights from.
So our data science professor during our class actually told us that you can make data say anything you want to if you know what to pick. And it depends, it's such a biased science. If you let one person look at a data and then translate it, that makes dashboards boring or interesting.
Yeah, and also one of the key skills is communication, right? I think that technical people in data and tech roles, they're required, obviously. But as the industry evolves, and it gets more and more complicated, good communicators in our departments are becoming more and more prevalent, because the level of understanding between the technology and the business today the gap is widening. So you need somebody to come in and explain it like you're explaining to grandma or a 5-year-old. And this is what's going to happen. I don't need to bore you with the API calls. I just need to talk to you about what the result is.
So we're almost at the end of our discussion. This is segment 10. It's about legacy point of view. You've been in the market for a very long time. What legacy do you want to leave for the data-driven marketing ecosystem in MENA?
Wow, what a question. What legacy would I like to lead? I would like people to believe in themselves. I think that you see so many people from different walks of life in this, and I want everyone to believe in themselves, to be able to achieve something in this industry. There's only a few characteristics you really genuinely need in this industry to succeed. And they are basic values, honestly. Curiosity, bravery, self-drive. I think if you walk into any professional environment, but particularly at agencies where it's fast-paced, if you come and bring those values every day, you will succeed. And I would love to, when it's all said and done, I would like to inspire the next round of people to, maybe when they're 20 years into their careers, they'll have lunch with someone and say, you know, I fell in love with this industry because I used to work with this guy called Ryan, and he told me I could do whatever I wanted, and I just tried hard and I got there. So that would be enough. One person to say that in 20 years from now would be enough.
I'm sure it's going to happen. All the very best. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Sell a dashboard to a marketer who hates Excel.
I would say, listen, no one wants to do pivot tables anymore. How annoying are VLOOKUPs? Buy this dashboard from me and it will be colorful and updated every day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this okay?
Yeah, absolutely. No worries at all.
Explain to us attribution using a pizza delivery analogy.
Pizza delivery analogy would be saying, I bought a pizza because the delivery guy drove it to my house. That would be the traditional way of measuring it, right? But actually I bought the pizza because I saw a pizza, I walked into the shop, I smelt how great it was once, I thought about pizza all day, and then someone brought it to my house and gave me a pizza. Most of the analogies are around football, the idea that the striker always scores the goal, but I guess in that scenario would be like, the reason why that business got a pizza is because the guy brought it to me as from on a moped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's not the attribution. The attribution happens somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. The reason I bought it was something else. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Imitate a client who wants every metric by tomorrow morning.
Ryan, how many sales did I get yesterday? 40. But how many impressions did I get? 400,000. But what about the clicks? So yeah, I mean, that's typical. Sometimes the conversations happen like that. It's like, what was my reach? What was my frequency? What was my ad stock? But my ROI isn't great, you know, or my ROAS isn't great. It's like, okay, well, we're all over the place. So.
Okay. So if you're stuck with a buzzword for an entire week, what would it be?
I hate machine learning. It sends alarm bells in my ears, right? It seems to be every supplier's favorite word. Like I said, I've spent the last 6 or 7 years really trying to understand good ML, right? And it's just regression. Okay, it's just multivariate regression happening over and over again. But when a supplier says machine learning, I immediately sit up and go, right, okay, talk to me about machine learning, right? And then I immediately see the fear in people's eyes, because I think they just use it as a word to create confidence.
Yeah.
When in reality, it creates more questions than it does kind of answers. So any suppliers out there, and you see me, don't say machine learning, don't say algorithm, because I'll get upset.
That's our episode for today. Thank you for joining us at Filters of MENA Edition. More such brilliant minds joining us in upcoming episodes. Stay tuned. Bye.